The futuristic F-35 stealth fighter bomber is marketed on the promise of being the most lethal predator in the sky. It'll want to be because despite deep budget cuts elsewhere, the Abbott government is sinking $24 billion into buying 72 of the warplanes. It's Australia's largest ever military acquisition, and local manufacturers are thrilled by the promise of a slice of the action, building key components for the jets. But others warn that politicians have been manipulated by an elaborate and at times misleading sales pitch by the world's largest military corporation, Lockheed Martin. Greg Hoy reports.
This is the controversial F-35 Joint Strike Fighter being put to the test in skies over Florida. Their cost is sky high. Australia has allocated $24 billion to buy and deploy a fleet of 72 of them.
That equates to roughly $190 million per aircraft.
What we are getting is a beyond visual range radar and targeting capacity. It has a steering array that gives magnificent situational awareness to the pilot. It has an electronic suite that is not, I think, comparable to anything of any potential adversary in our region and beyond.
The F-35 was supposed to be in service by 2010, but the project remains way behind schedule and way over budget. Its long overdue international debut was aborted last month due to an engine fire during takeoff in Florida. Regardless, soon after, an elaborate celebration was staged in Texas to unveil the first of Australia's 72 F-35s, the largest foreign order to date for the US aircraft.
The most advanced fighter ever developed.
It was a dazzling sales presentation by F-35's creator, Lockheed Martin, the world's largest military corporation.
We no longer fight alone as a single service or a single nation, we fight as coalitions.
Self-control, we show good numbers, cleared left, full power.
The potential for local manufacturers to win lucrative F-35 contracts has been central to Lockheed Martin's hard sell to the Australian government.
Australian business has already won some $1.5 billion worth of work associated with this aircraft. Up to $7.5 billion worth of additional work is there potentially.
In fact, so far, Australian industries are only contracted for around $370 million work, with Lockheed Martin assurances but no guarantees of more to come.
They're not unable to actually go to long-term contracts until they move from low-rate production.
So how long are the contracts?
So currently the contracts are for like 12 months annual.
Melbourne manufacturer Morand is busy making key components for the new fighter jet that are so highly classified we can't show them.
We're supplying 722 vertical tails over the next 20 years.
Morand's David Alul has invested 10 years of his company's profits to supply the F-35 project, hoping once it ramps up to full production, it will be a bonanza for his family business.
They're forecasting 300 aircraft per annum, where currently they're only doing 32. They use that opportunity to make sure they've ironed out all the bugs.
However, federal Liberal MP and former analyst with the Defence Science and Technology Organisation, Dr Dennis Jensen, says Australian manufacturers should be very wary of Lockheed Martin's assurances.
The warning I'd give is don't bank on the work that you're being told you're going to get. You will get it while Lockheed Martin is still pushing very hard for signatures on the dotted line, but once all those signatures are there, don't bet on winning any future contracts.
Dr Jensen and others are angry with Lockheed Martin's repeated assurances to Australia about the value and performance capability of the expensive aircraft.
The aircraft is not coming within a bull's roar of its operation, some of its operational specifications. The designs are riddled with single points of failure, and many of the critical elements of design have been painted into what we engineers call coffin corner.
What the former RAAF head flight test engineer Peter Goon means by coffin corner is the concern that the F-35 couldn't compete against these cheaper, lighter and more agile Russian and Chinese stealth fighter jets, which are expected to be sold widely around the world.
Those aircraft are designed as lethal killing machines. The F-35 JSF will not survive against those aircraft.
Data shows that the thing does not perform as well as a whole lot of other fighters aerodynamically. There are very real problems with the way that Lockheed Martin is trying to sell this aircraft.
Dr. Jensen raised questions about problems posed by the F-35's heavy weight and the threat that it will be no match for possible adversaries, with a high-ranking Lockheed Martin delegation before a joint parliamentary inquiry in Canberra. Lockheed Martin's response? We cannot answer that question, just as we cannot answer the threat question, because we get into classified areas very, very quickly.
I find it very convenient for them saying, oh, that's classified, because quite frankly, you're starting to talk about areas where the JSF becomes very, very vulnerable.
Lockheed Martin would not be interviewed to discuss such concerns. The US Air Force Combat Command, meantime, has expressed its own reservations. It has warned the US must continue to maintain its older, more agile and far more effective fleet of F-22 jet fighters to back up the F-35s, or they'll be rendered irrelevant. So should Australia instead try to buy the proven F-22? Well, according to the Defence Minister, Australia did ask, but the Americans insisted there was no choice but to take the troubled F-35 or nothing.
They've said, no, you can't have the F-22, that is for the United States Air Force, but you can certainly participate in our program with the Joint Strike Fighter. We do not have anywhere else to go. That's on one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin, this aircraft is coming along with all due consideration to it very, very well.
The critics say there are other options that should still be considered, such as the Boeing F-15 Silent Eagle, the Saab Gripen E, the French Rafale, or the F-22. And for all the F-35 fanfare, so far Australia has only actually ordered 2 F-35s and won't order more until 2016. So this dogfight will only intensify to decide the fate of Australia's $24 billion fighter jet investment and the financial future of the local manufacturers whose hopes are riding on it.
It's the largest defence program in history. It is a program that may be going slow at the moment, but we have full confidence that the program will go.
Some worry as to whether they will ever go into full production with the F-35. Does that possibility worry you?
Yeah, I can't say it wouldn't worry me.
Greg Hoy reporting.